As a developer, you're the first role in the workflow and tasked with adding the entry for the first time. You have one major task, and that's to create a correct Fatshark ID. This is used in game and cannot be changed later, so it's very important to get this right the first time. You also have to fill in the dev string as well as the dev sound if you're working with sound. You will also need to fill in as many of the fields as you can, as these will be needed for the next person in line. As a developer, this is what you will be met with when you first log in. So on the left side, you will have your project, and on the right side, you will have your grids. There's two major grids. There's one for the UI in the game, so everything basically showed on screen, except strings that has to do with sound. So voiceovers and subtitles and everything like that is in this grid. You also have three yellow ones. These are reference grids. So if you add a character or a mission, or there's an added release, these needs to be added in here because these are referenced inside these other grids. So let's have a look inside the dialogues. You have two views. There's one unfiltered, and there's one that basically shows nothing and only displays the stuff that you currently are just adding. Now, this is good for when you just want to add new lines. So let's look at that first. There are a few ways of adding a line, and either you can click these three dots and add a bunch of records if you want to add a bunch of them at the same time. You could also click the plus sign, or of course this button up here. Now you can see the first cell here looks a bit weird, and that's because this is the generated Fatshark ID. So again, this is not really being used in the game, but it's more of a reminder to you what the real Fatshark ID should be. Now, in this workflow, when you're working with dialogues, this is made up by the character name, it's made up by the bank name, and it's made up by the variation as well as the platform. So these are the fields that we need to fill in first in order to make a correct ID. So we start by filling in a character name. We can use something like Boon Vendor, and you will see that this comes up here. And then we said we needed the bank name, and we can say that this is Vendor Bank. And we don't have any extra variations except the one. So this is the suggested Fatshark ID. And if we have specific platforms, so we do have this specific line should only be on Xbox, you could set the platform, and you will see that this is also added to the end. But if we choose all, then there won't be any more. So this is the suggested Fatshark ID. So I would just I would copy this in here because this seems all right. I don't want any specifics to it, and just so we can find it again, I will set a color on it. Then then you need to fill in the dev, which is like something like I don't know what we should take in this case. Hi, I'm a fish vendor, and then the context is basically when and where and how this is happening. So that could just be speaking to is important for the translations to be correct. In here you have single person, multiple persons, and in this case, the vendor is only talking to you. And try to fill in as much of these as you possibly can, because it's going to help. It's going to help the next person in line. Now, if you do not know what to set, ask your localization manager, or yeah, just ping them if there's certain things that you need to find out. like the priority and production batch and line sequence number, etc. These are all things that will be told to you what to set. If you're unsure, keep them empty, and the sound manager and the localization manager will see this. Now, this view is a bit sneaky because it only shows the stuff that you just are working with. So if you change the view or refreshes the page, this is going to be gone. And then you might wonder how to find this stuff again. Well, you go to the unfiltered view, and a trick that I used to do is that you go to the very end, you have something called last modified time, and you can pick a date, and you can pick today. And that's going to show you the things that you have created today. So these are the 3 things that I've created today. So from here you can edit these again. And of course you can filter and search for everything else. And as you have any questions, just talk to one of the managers. And yeah, I think that's it.